Welcome to the 4th episode of Working Progress. Thanks for joining us today. We are joined by our guest, Adam Wong. Adam is a talent management specialist and the co-founder of Rockstar Workforce. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, Brittney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Happy to be here.
We are approaching the end of the year. And so we thought, based on the fact that we work with thousands of small business owners and consultants, that this time of year gets a little interesting.
For some, they can slow down a bit.
And so we thought, let's have a conversation about it with somebody who really understands it. So that's where you come in.
Okay.
And for those who might not know who you are or who might not know what Rockstar Workforce is, you want to give us like a really short little introduction?
How much time do we have? Said really short. Okay, so like a minute or less.
Yes, please.
I think it's worth sharing. I was an employee of TTI for several years, as was my wife and business partner, Amber. So we got that experience there and transitioned out of TTI back in 2017. Had a great transition plan. And we've been running Rockstar Workforce ever since. And we're born and raised in Phoenix here. And what we do is we specialize working in the Phoenix area with companies that are trying to develop their people. So really at the core, we're known as a leadership training business.
Okay.
So we partner with companies that are looking to develop their people. And we have a slew of programs they can go through to develop their people. And then, of course, we weave the TTI tools in pretty much everything we do.
Thanks for that plug.
Yeah, of course.
So you, I guess, are a really great example of what many of our folks, aside from the TTI, tie there. You have an extra close TTI.
I do.
Yeah. But like many small business owner, in this case, working with your partner in life and in business, and really trying to, make a difference in the world. So that looks a little bit different than if you were part of a large organization and you're geared up for the holidays and you're excited about a slowdown.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about what does this time of year look like and feel like for you and Amber? So often we hear, oh no, it's slowing down. Sometimes that can be a little scary. Sometimes it can be a little uncertain.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you're thinking about at this point in the calendar year?
It's a great question. First thing is holidays. We love to throw soirees and have holiday parties, right? We all have the parties. So that's definitely there in the forefront of the mind. But aside from that, it's getting geared up for the next year. I think it's worth probably dropping our business model a little bit here because that'll kind of allude to how we plan for the year. Is that our business is structured around long-term leadership programs. We learned early on is that it's tough being a consultant that's selling gig after gig after gig and constantly thinking about your cash flow.
Sure.
So our strategy is implementing long-term programs, a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years. So we have this, we know what the cash flow is going to be well in advance. So when it comes December, we're not scrambling, but rather we're planning. So we're constantly evaluating what do we do accomplish this year? Who are some of our core customers? We even grade them. Who do we love?
See those report cards.
Who do we love? Who do we like? Who are we maybe spending too much time with? Because then that allows us to look clearly who should we be spending our time with? Right. Where do we want to be spending our time? And then we cast the kind of the strategy for the next year. And we're always operating a couple years in the future. So we are able to pivot a little bit, come up with new programs that we want to launch. So November, December is that time period. And we also have programs that we're doing through November, December. But we're very intentional about our time. So with how we're spending our time with our family, that's one of the key reasons we set out to start this business was to have, I won't say lifestyle business.
Okay.
Because I think that gets a wrong idea that we work a couple days a week, No.
Right.
But in December, we make sure we have 3-ish weeks to take off if we want to take them off. But again, that goes back to the reason we can do that is because we're planning and we're following the business best practices of going through literally a 2-day retreat, doing our strategic planning just like a mid-sized company would. We're creating the goals for the next year. We're creating how we're going to accomplish those. So we operate the business like we're a much larger business because the vision is we will become that. Right. So we're getting ready for the future.
That feels smart to me.
Yeah. Feels smart, right? We're trying to use some of the tools that we've learned and implement them.
Right.
And the good thing is I enjoy it. Okay. Where I know other like consultants, they don't enjoy that planning. So I actually enjoy it. So I'm able to dive right into it and it's fun for me.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah. Because you're right. There are several folks who are like, well, I don't want to do the planning part. I want to be in it. I want to be in the mix. But as we know, because you're an expert in that space, it is really important. So for those folks, you said you guys actually have a retreat and you dedicate 2 days. Are you bringing someone else from outside in to facilitate that with you? Or is that something that you've got so dialed in and so nailed in that you're just doing it, the two of you?
That's a great question. So Amber and I are the core of the business. And then we have some other people, associates that we work with within the business. And we have a strategist. I'd love to share him. His name's Matt Hensler, runs an awesome business. And he comes in with us in our strategy sessions. And we kind of facilitate it together. But he's there. He knows our business in and out. And then we've also brought in other people at certain times to help. If there's certain areas that we weren't sure about and we wanted an expert in, we have a vast network to tap into. So we'll bring those people in too.
So let's touch on that a little bit as well. I know other folks have called you and Amber. So not to make this a shameless plug, but maybe it will be, to come in and help them with strategy or, working through that. Because as we know in this business, we all have strengths and then we all have some opportunities. And we hear it often, a lot of folks who are the face, if you will, of their organization, not so great at that side of things, the actual planning and organizing and getting really serious and disciplined about following, whatever they put into place. So are there others inside of the network? How have some of those, conversations gone for you and for Amber and for others inside
within the network?
TTI network.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, there are like 2,000 people.
There's a lot, right? There's a lot. Yeah. So I think I'll answer that with the mastermind idea.
Okay.
So I stayed in touch with a handful of associates throughout the years. We had a couple of masterminds formed, which is very helpful. So what is a mastermind? 3 to 5 of us meet once a month or so, share some ideas. And that really helped kind of clarify just some challenges I was encountering, realizing that we're encountering a lot of the same challenges. So embrace that idea. But then also outside of the TTI network, there's also some other great folks out there. So just collaborating with them, learning from them on a pretty regular basis. I'm involved in a monthly executive roundtable. So I'm in the room with other executives of other industries, other types of businesses, different sizes, and I get to hear about what they're encountering and what's going well, what's not going well. So to continue to collaborate with others is super helpful.
So you kind of, whatever we want to call it, drinking our own Kool-Aid.
I know, we try to. We try to. Yeah, we definitely try to. Because we found out early on, and I can say a lot of consultants fall in this trap, is it's a revenue grab. Like when you're first starting your business, you probably have an idea of what services you want to offer or what products you want to push. But at the end of the day, if you're not generating revenue, unless you have a bag of cash somewhere, you're going to need to generate revenue quickly. As we know, if you look at the stats, a big percentage of consulting businesses fail pretty quickly. And so how do you get around that? You need to focus on rev gen. It's so easy to focus on so many things. You're this new solopreneur. There are dozens of things you can do every day. Do you spend 2 hours making a social media post? Do you write a blog? Do you go call some leads? Do you make a webinar? Like there's so many things you can do. So we found that it's very easy to be reactive and just respond to things. So that's where early on we realized that, all right, this is good to experience the things that we can do, that we like to do, that we don't like to do. So you didn't ask the question, but I want to go down that path of like, how do you identify kind of what it is you want to focus on?
Right.
And we gave ourselves the first year and a half or so to kind of just explore. So we did things like strategic planning. We did workshops. We helped companies with hiring. We did recruiting for like a solid year. Yep, got out of that game. It wasn't for us. I mean, the recruiters they're their own breed, and what they do is great. It's very needed. but it wasn't for us. Then we did the leadership training, and that's where we found the niche. But it took us a while to get there. And then we realized, okay, well, how are we going to market with this? And what kind of industries we want to go down? And the more we drill down into our target persona, which we've all heard that term, we've all heard to do this, the riches are in the niches, but it's hard to do it. So we had to be disciplined, keep trying to stick to our guns of leadership programs, say no to things that distract us, and then find our niches. So our niche is construction. So we're fortunate that we live in Phoenix, which is one of the largest commercial construction areas in the country. And so there's a lot of companies here. And so what we started doing is getting involved in associations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Smart.
So it's like, how do you get in touch with these customers if you don't know them? That's a common question. Well, how do I get the business? So we took the association route. So we got involved in 2 associations that are in construction. So their customers are our customers. And we just add value to the association. So
it's not feeling all icky and
not
salesy
competitive
and cold calling.
No.
You're actually adding value and having a place or a partnership, even, might I say?
Definitely a partnership.
Inside of these organizations?
It's definitely a partnership, yeah. So if they see an opportunity to provide what we offer is education, leadership education to their members, it's going to be value for them. So it's a win-win-win. The members get access to the training, we get access to them, the association gets access to both. So that strategy is how we've been able to continue to secure long-term customers.
I hear recurring customers there, right?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
If you're in with an organization that's been around for a long time and has a good reputation, I suspect that other people in the industry are going to go to them because they know that, right? And so then you've got just this constant, ongoing, litany, if you will, of potential customers and clients.
And to add to that, now as we add on team members, we put it in the job ad is that a part of your requirement, it's probably a harsh word, but expectation that we have is you will self-identify an association that you want to be a part of and then get involved in it. And it doesn't mean that we're going to try to go in there and just penetrate the association and get a bunch of business, but we feel the value in being involved in the community. So we want our team to be involved in some kind of association, whether or not we do work there. But odds are, over time, we will be able to do work from that association.
Well, I suspect in those instances, you're creating long-lasting relationships that are going to go way beyond a business transaction,
for sure.
Right?
Yep.
I'm thinking about relationships that got built through something similar that are 20 years old, that are still there. So it seems like
we're playing the long game. Playing the long game for sure.
Which is not always easy.
No.
Especially this time of year when you go, things are slowing down.
I know.
Right.
So for those newer associates who are starting their business where maybe this isn't the right play, I think there's a short-term play, there's a long-term play. And it's finding that balance of when are you playing which one? And maybe you're playing kind of both at the same time. So if it's a new associate just starting up, what do you do to get some business? Right. I'd say don't go out there and get involved with 10 associations.
Pick one or two.
Yeah, you don't want to dabble.
Right.
You want to build deep relationships with one or two, and start there, and then just let your network, your friends, your family know what you're doing, and start putting the word out there. And I was surprised when we started really putting the word out there that people kind of came out of the boonies that I hadn't seen in years. Like, oh, you do this? I work at this company, and we were just talking about something like this. Can we talk? And I think many people don't think to go tell their family and their friends about their businesses.
Because you don't want it to feel like that's all you're about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And just don't come off that way, I guess, right? Don't come off that way. But it works. So we had a couple of clients within a few months of starting the business just by sharing with friends that we weren't even, it's nice to get it, but it wasn't the intention.
Right.
But it worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and let's talk about intention a little bit, because I think there's, especially when you're a newer consultant or someone that's trying this new go off on my own, there's grand, dreams of creating this beautiful thing that's all organic. And then you get into the reality of it after the first couple of months. And sometimes you go, okay, well, I still want to do that. There's this added pressure of, and if you don't do it and you mess it up, then what happens, right? Don't screw it up. So talk to me a little bit about what is your mindset and how do you all approach the sales process? I mean, to some people, that's a 4-letter word, sales, right?
Yep.
It just makes you feel bad. So what's that mindset? What's that intention as you are building your business and really trying to create transformation and really help other organizations?
Yeah.
How do you look at that?
So I'll start with the intention question. Like, what's our intention? We started this business because we wanted to live a certain lifestyle that we want to live. Plug in whatever that means to you.
Sure.
Right? Does that mean you work 200 days a year? Does that mean you get to buy a cabin up north? Like, whatever that thing is for you.
Right.
We have ideas that we want to accomplish. So that's where the intention comes from. And we've casted that vision of, what does a business look like in 5 years? What does it look like in 10 years? Are we still the CEO of the business, or do we have somebody else run it? So that's the way we're thinking, because we're thinking that we want to scale the business. We want to we want to be able to develop other people where they're able to run the day to day. We can mentor them, and then we can go do something else.
Right.
So that keeping that vision motivates us. So that's one piece. I missed the second part of your question.
Oh, we were talking about the dirty 4-letter word that is
the sales. You know, I enjoy it. So, but I think it's all about the mindset. It's, what do you think when you think of selling? What I think of when I think of selling is, there's a customer, in our case, it's a company that has a challenge and they need help solving it. And so we show them how we can help solve it. And then how do we solve it? And then there's a course, there's an investment for that. And they're going to know that. And that's a term we use. What's the investment? Right. And we always ask them, how are you going to measure success of this program? We'll use leadership, because that's what we're doing, right? Okay. So if we're doing leadership development, what kind of behaviors are you expecting to see change as a result of going through our program? And then just put a dollar on that. What does that mean to you? What other results are you expecting to see? We're expecting to see decreased turnover, increased retention, increased employee net promoter scores. And these are metrics that we can then measure. So we get the client to say, yep, I agree with those. Okay, well, where do we think they should be? Should we increase them 5%, 10%? Would that be value to you? And getting them to say, well, yeah, it would be. Right. And I mean, just connecting the dots to the things that they care about in their business, and then being able to measure those. So to me, it's not selling something. It's simply identifying what their problem is. If we are the right fit, explain to them how we think we can help them solve their problem. And then it comes down to, financially, does it make sense for both of us, or does it not? Yeah.
Well, and I'm imagining that also leads into some of the initial conversation we had, which is, as you're planning that, as you're having those conversations, as you're pinpointing what are those milestones or what are those goals that we're going to go achieve, you're thinking short term and long term, so that it's not all at once, right? Yes. So that you had a great July and everything got done in 3 or 4 months. And now here we are at the end of the year, and you're like, okay, when's the next thing going to come in? Right? It's really being strategic and disciplined about what that looks like.
Yeah. So you got a couple ideas come up in my mind. One is the word sticky. That's the word that we use, is how do we remain sticky, but also valuable with our clients. Assessments is one way, is getting them to embrace the idea of using a tool like that, what they will need in the future. So not just a one-time engagement. So being sticky, and then just continue to add value to them. That also goes back to knowing who our target is. So, our target is a company that has 200 to 400 employees. It's our sweet spot. Okay. Doesn't even want to go smaller or larger. Okay. By all means, we do. So if we're working with a company that has 30 employees, we know it's going to be a lot different than 300 employees, and the offering is going to be a lot different. The financial investment is going to be a lot different. So just keeping that in mind and keep those expectations clear on both ends. And it also made me think of a book that was recommended to me several years ago, and it was "Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play." I might have butchered the title. I think it's "Let's Get Real." Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play. Yes. Something along those lines. Yes. I've read the book several times. And so if any of you associates having a hard time through the sales process, that book was just life-changing for me, because it gives you just the confidence to approach a conversation in a different way. Because I think a lot of times people get hung up on a price, how much it's going to cost. And that book teaches you kind of how to have that conversation by proving value And then, when there's a number on the table, it's like, does this work or does it not work? Because this is what it works for us to do it. Does it work for you to receive this?
Mm-hmm.
And but it's a great book. So I'd recommend anybody to go check that out.
That's a great tip.
The sales process.
I'm hoping people are really paying attention because I've gotten 3 or 4 nuggets. So hopefully they are as well. So let's talk about, we keep tiptoeing around it. Target persona. We've talked about it a couple times. Mm-hmm. It's a buzzword. Mm-hmm. How do you get there? You said, well, ours, we understand it. We're in the construction business and we're really focused in leadership development in those spaces. But it sounds like you did maybe at the beginning play the shiny object game where you tried it all out to figure it out. Is that part of the process for really identifying who that person or group or company is?
I think it is. So, I think of the services, the products that you're offering. That's a piece of it. Mm-hmm. So just kind of being open to what services can I offer? Mm-hmm. What am I good at? What challenges can I help companies solve? And whether or not you enjoy it yet, just get out there and kind of try some, and you'll start to realize what you like. You'll start to realize what takes energy versus gives you energy. Mm-hmm. So that really helps you narrow down to, okay, this is what I want to offer.
Right.
And then there's a who is it? So the who piece, start to think about who do you like working with? And so we would reflect on the companies, the people, the leaders that we're seeing every day with that company. Do we enjoy working with them? What do we enjoy having a conversation with them just after hours sometime?
Yeah.
So that's really identifying, your target. And so we get down to, how old are they? How many kids do they have? What do they do outside of work? What kind of things do they read? What do they do? Where do they go for vacation? Could we invite them to vacation with us? That's how down deep we go. And it starts to paint this picture, and it tells us who our who's are and who our who's are not. And at first, you can't necessarily turn away too much business if you're trying to do rev gen. But there becomes a time, if you stay disciplined, that you can become more choosy with the companies that you work with. But also you start to, if you truly live your brand, you'll start to attract the types of people you want to work with.
Right.
For example, you'll notice I'm wearing a t-shirt today. Many people, when they see that or think about I can never do that. That's okay. It's probably not on brand for you. Our name is Rockstar Workforce, right? It's not Wong Consulting Group or Training Group, and that's intentional. It's not about me, and we knew that from the get-go. We wanted to build a company that would service other people. We had to have a team around us. So it's not about me or a person, but also it's knowing who our brand is. Mm-hmm. And so if we're asked to speak at an event or something, I'm going to ask a question like, hey, do you require a jacket? Sure. Because it's probably not the right fit for me. And I don't want to show up and do a disservice to your audience. Right. It needs to be a right fit for me too. So being true to the brand and who you are.
Well, and as you said, as people watch that, I think it's going to reject or repel or attract the people that you want. I'm thinking about some other folks inside of the TTI network who have gone through some of these same exercises that you're talking about, specifically that target audience, a target persona exercise. And some of the conversations we've had are, ooh, that might not sit well with everyone. Or, yikes, what if I offend someone because I show up in a t-shirt as opposed to a suit jacket? And I think that the hard part, if you will, for a consultant is to be okay.
It is.
Right? I mean, were you always like, I'm good with this, I'm just going to wear a t-shirt?
No.
You're okay with it?
No, I wasn't. For a few reasons. Well, one, there was a financial risk. Ooh, are we going to lose this client because of this? So there was that piece of my mind, which is a real thing, especially as you're trying to grow the business. But then it took a little while to be totally okay with it. But what it comes down to is well, okay, why am I doing this in the first place? If I'm true to myself, what do I really care about? Why did I start this business? And I should be able to build a business around me, who I genuinely am. And if I can't do that, then why am I doing it?
Right.
I know there are people out there that want to work with me the way I am, the way we're building our company. And that might mean we have to be turned down by a few companies before we find the right ones, but I know they're out there. And I would say the same is true to any other consultant, coach out there, trainer, anybody. Maybe they like the suit and tie. There's plenty of companies out there that want that. So do it, own it, but don't force something that's not you.
Right.
It's you should feel comfortable.
I love it. Be authentic. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That feels like a theme. And
it's so easy to say. You got to have the courage to do it. Yeah.
No, I was thinking the same thing, right? So in these moments where you're thinking about and planning for this next year, do you have conversations about the identity piece? Does that ever come up? Do you ever say, ooh, this isn't working for us, maybe we go a different direction? Or is that something that you're like steadfast in?
I will say we had it more so early on when we realized that the brand identity wasn't what we wanted it to be, right? So we were showing up in the, I hate to use just a tire as an example, but it's an easy example.
A more corporate.
Yeah, exactly.
Proper and.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
okay?
prim, proper. Just some of it was our physical appearance. Some was other things. We realized that we're really against the grain. It wasn't natural. It was, again, taking energy from us, not giving us energy. So earlier on, we had the conversations, and then we made the commitment to, okay, well, let's just be true to ourselves. So now it's not really a thought. We more so talk about is, are we serving our customers in the right way? And are these the right customers for us? Because sometimes they might not be the right customers for us, and we might not be the right people for them either. Right. So it's more about those conversations.
Well, and I think that's so important to really think about what is that end result going to be, right? For that customer client. And it's not even probably the person that's signing the check that's providing whatever that is, right? In your case, it might be a leadership development cohort, right? Or something of that nature. It's probably not even that person. It's
a lot of times it's
not inside of their company. And in your case, I'm imagining construction companies, they're not going to show up in suit and tie.
No, so it's knowing your audience, right? I mean, many of them will either come right from the field, or they're going to the field right after they leave our session. So they have their work boots and their jeans and their company t-shirt or flannel, whatever. So they're looking the part, and we have to make sure that we connect with them authentically, though.
Make them feel comfortable.
Yes. Yeah. And we have to authentically do that.
Right.
So we have to be true to who we are, who they are as well.
Right.
And there's a little bit of a wall up, probably those first interactions or two. But over time, we break it down, and they see that we're just real people trying to help them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So going back to all these different things and how we're being very strategic at this point, we've talked about target persona. We've talked about really, I think it's hilarious and wonderful, grading your clients. Who do I want to be with? How do we want to move forward with this? Really thinking about those short-term versus those long-term goals internally and with your customers. What else are you doing right now? I mean, that seems like a lot. That seems very robust. But if I'm, new to the business, or what about if I'm winding down? And I'm thinking about, what does the next year look like for me? I think we could use some of these pointers and tidbits, right?
I think so.
What else are you all doing right now? What is the...
So there's two things that are hot that we're working on right now.
Okay.
That will be seen soon, very soon. I'll start with the one. So we've seen it is that leadership training is often reserved for leaders. Supervisors, managers, executive level. Often the space that we're working in, the small to mid-sized space, that's who they can afford it for, right? Or that's been the thinking, is that we invest those types of financial resources in those types of positions. But our thought is like, wow, there are so many more people. If 80% of your workforce, 90% of your workforce are not supervisors, managers, leaders, what are you doing with them to develop them? And we're like, there's a huge opportunity there. Put the financial investment aside. Do we agree that there's opportunity to develop everybody? And so over the years, we've been experimenting a little bit with working with we'll call it non-leaders, non-managers, just for easy term. And we've a couple of companies, almost like our beta testers, have sent their entire company through our non-manager tracks as we're kind of pivoting and trying different ones with them. And they are seeing some great results, because employees feel empowered because they're being invested in. They're learning new skills. And so what we're going to be coming to market with are 3 tracks. The first 2 tracks are geared for anybody. Non-managers is really who our target is. So the first track, picture this: who wouldn't benefit from learning how to communicate more effectively, from learning how to manage their emotions, for learning more self-awareness. Everybody would.
The world would be a better
Everybody.
place.
So we're still fine-tuning the tracks. So we'll call it, that's track 1.
Yeah.
But then track 2 is, okay, so you've learned about yourself, you learned of emotional intelligence, but now how productive are you? How well do you manage your time? How well do you manage your week? Are you personally accountable? So we have 3 or 4 sessions that we're going to be putting in there. That's going to make everybody just a better performer.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third track is reserved for the managers. So they're going to be learning things like how to delegate effectively, how to coach, how to hire, those
things that no one really teaches you how to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's big. So we're going to be going to market with those 3 tracks. So that opens up the people that we can touch. It's everybody. Right. It really is everybody. Right. So that's something big. It's been in the works for a while. And then another one is trying to leverage a piece of technology in our business for a couple of reasons. And I'll give you the why this has started. So picture this. Say you're going through one of our programs. Okay. You're going through one of our programs. Let's say it's one of our year-long programs. I see you once a month for half a day. So, and we're going to be sharing all types of stuff with you. So it's month 1. You're with us for 4 hours. I don't see you again until another month. How much of that stuff that we covered do you think you're going to remember from month 1 to month 2? What percentage?
Right out of my brain.
5%, it's going to fall right 10%. 5%, 10% is what you're going to remember. So the question is, how do we continue to stay sticky with you, the person going through our program? Right. And we've done things like we send them text messages, we send them emails throughout the program. But now we're looking for the right AI-enabled technology to help us throughout the way. So you kind of get to pick your journey as you're going through our program, and then we're dropping educational component, bite-sized educational component to you in a way that makes sense for you. And so we are investigating what that's going to look like and trying to find the right platform. So thinking longer term, we're not just this program that somebody goes to once a month. We're now their support team. And then back of house in our team, we will have performance coaches, which maybe they're not the ones facilitating in front of the room, but they're going to be the ones that are
keeping things going.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to be the glue that keeps them sticky. Yeah.
So I just heard a wealth of things that probably shouldn't pick all of them to do right now. No. Yeah. But we've talked about, really getting strategic, thinking about what are the goals for the next year. As things are slow, you have time to work on the business instead of in the business. And maybe that's even to your last kind of point there. Try something new. When things are a little slower, it's a little easier. You have a little more space to wrap your arms
to work on the business.
All of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Adam, it's been a pleasure.
It's been great.
Thanks.
Is our time already up?
It flew by. I know. I feel like we're just getting going. We can sit here and talk about this. We'll have to have you back for another. We'll do
scene 2.
Part 2. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We're wrapping up. Thanks for joining us. This is the last one of 2023. So thanks for being on that conclusion. We'll see you in 2024.